Good morning, dear students. Today we shall start with the 8th part of your first chapter, that is the story of village Palampur. Today we shall discuss whatever we have covered till now in all the previous 7 lessons. So let us quickly revise whatever we have studied so that we can proceed further with the chapter in the next video. So we studied about the main features of Palampur. Palampur is connected with an all-weather road to various places such as Shahpur and Raiganj. It has got various transport facilities which include bullock cart, trucks, motorcycle, tangas, jeeps, tractors, etc. Palampur has got 450 houses, which includes both permanent and temporary house. Now, permanent houses are those which are built by brick and cement, and temporary houses are the ones which are made by mud. So, about the electric connection. Electric connection in Palampur is used for 3 purposes. First of all, in the houses. Secondly, it is even used in agricultural field, as you all know that it is used for irrigation. And the third one is small businesses. The people of Palampur carry out small businesses in their household, and electric connection helps them. So Palampur has even got educational facilities. It has got 1 high school and 2 primary schools. There are various healthcare facilities. 1 primary health center is there which is owned by the government, and there is also 1 private dispensary. Now, the production activity carried out in Palampur is mainly farming. Apart from farming, there are certain other non-farming activities such as small manufacturing, shopkeeping, transportation, dairy. After that, we studied the factors of production. There are 4 factors of production, which is also mentioned as 4 requirements of production in your book. So the first factor of production is land. It includes the surface of soil and all the other natural resources. So land is not only about a piece of earth surface, it also includes all the other natural resources such as sunlight, air, and things like that. And the second factor of production is labor. There are 2 types of labor, skilled and unskilled. Skilled are the ones who have gained certain knowledge and training to perform a particular task, and unskilled laborers are the one who do not have any specific knowledge or any specific skill, but they can perform manual work. The third factor of production is physical capital. Physical capital are of 2 types. The first one is fixed capital, which is bought once and can be used over a longer period of time. An example of fixed capital are machinery, tools, etc. Now, the other type of physical capital is working capital. Now, working capital are all those capital which are required on day-to-day basis to carry out the activity of production. And those working capital are cash, raw material, etc. Now, these working capital is used up in the process of production. The last factor of production is human capital. It is the knowledge and expertise that an individual puts so that production can take place. Basically, human capital is that individual who arranges for all the 3 other factors of production so that production activity can take place. After that, we studied about another topic, that is land is fixed. Of course, we all know the amount of land is fixed, and due to constraint in the amount of land, initially there was a constraint in the income of the farmers, But later on, with the introduction of modern farming, it was realized that through various means, even with the same fixed amount of land, we can produce much more and the farmers can gain greater amount of income. Now that can be done, the increase in agricultural output can be done through various ways. That is, the first one is multiple cropping. Multiple cropping means growing more than one crop in one particular year. Another way is use of new techniques and equipments. There are various new kinds of techniques that are to be used. The third one is use of high yield variety seeds, which was introduced through Green Revolution. And the last one is permanent means of irrigation, which means that the farmers are not supposed to be dependent on rain anymore. They are supposed to have a permanent medium to irrigate their land, and that was done mainly through tube wells. Now Green Revolution is very much associated with modern farming method. There are 5 requirements of modern farming method. This is a very important part, always remember this. The 5 requirements are high yield variety seeds, and the second one is fertilizers, the third is pesticides, fourth one is irrigation. A system of irrigation was required. It can be in any form. It can be in the form of canals, it can be in the form of pump set or dams. A system of irrigation was necessary. And the fifth requirement was modern farm machineries. There were various machinery that came, harvesters were there, threshers were there. So all those things were required so that modern farming method can be carried out and there is an increase in the income of farmers. Now the next topic that we studied was, will the land sustain? Of course, we know that Green Revolution has helped the farmers a lot and it has increased the output of land to a very great extent. But there are certain negative impact of Green Revolution as well. The 2 most important negative impact were, first of all, it leads to loss of soil fertility. Because of constant use of fertilizers, there was a lack in soil fertility. After that, there was also reduction in groundwater table. Because a permanent means of irrigation was required and in modern farming method, a huge amount of water was required. As a result, the water table reduced to a great extent because whatever was used up for irrigation was not completely replenished by rainfall. Now chemical fertilizers were used. There are certain negative impact of chemical fertilizers. The first one is it pollutes groundwater, rivers and lakes. Whatever chemical fertilizer was used, it was not held up by soil for a longer period of time. It used to wash off, and because of this washing off, it used to, wherever it used to go, it used to pollute that water body, be it groundwater or river or lake. It even killed the bacteria and microorganisms that are very good in increasing the fertility of the soil, and which ultimately led to degradation of soil health. Now you know that Punjab was the first state which used this chemical fertilizer and modern method of farming. And because of these negative impacts, what happened is now Punjab has to use more and more amount of chemical fertilizers to maintain their output. If they will not use more amount of chemical fertilizers, since the microorganisms of the soil are already dead, they will not be able to increase their output. They will have lesser amount of agricultural output. Now the next topic was distribution of land in Palampur. Now Palampur represents India. So over here they are trying to show just the way there is an unequal distribution of land in Palampur. Similarly, there is an unequal distribution of land in India. Now coming to Palampur, there are 150 landless people in Palampur. 240 are small farmers. Small farmers are the ones who own less than 2 hectares. And only 60 are large farmers, the farmers who own more than 2 hectares. Now this is an example of Gobind. Gobind was the owner of 2.25 hectares of land, but after his death, the land was divided among his son, and each son got about 0.75 hectare of land. And since this land was very small in size, the sons were not able to feed their family properly. They were not having a very good quality of life. So with this we can understand that due to a lack of other job opportunities and due to law of inheritance, the land distribution is getting smaller and smaller. The land holding is getting smaller. Now this is the data of India. 55.4% of farmers in India are small or marginal, and they own about 15% of land. On the contrary, 44.6% are large, medium and large farmers, and they own about 85% of agricultural land. So with this data you can understand that this unequal distribution of land is not only a problem of Palampur, it is the problem of entire nation. After that we studied about who will provide the labor. Now in small fields, the farmer themselves along with their family members, they arrange for labor, because they cannot pay for any labor work that is to be done by someone else, so they perform all the work themselves. But for medium and large fields, there are two options. The farmers can hire the small farmers who want to have certain extra income, or they can even hire landless laborers. Since in rural area there is a lack of job opportunity, these people who do not own land, they are always in search of work, so they can be hired. Now there is this example of Dala and Ramkali. They both are landless and they are talking about their problems, that since there is modern machinery and since the number of large farmers are very less in Palampur, as a result they are not getting work and they are having a huge amount of debt which they need to pay off. So this is a very common problem in Palampur as well as in India. The next topic is capital in farming. Now the small farmers can arrange for capital. Since they are not very well off, they need to arrange for capital, and there are three ways in which they can arrange. The first one is by borrowing from large farmers. The second is by borrowing from money lenders, and the third is by borrowing from traders. All these three group of people, they charge a very huge amount of interest. As a result, this small farmer has a very tough time paying off these people. On the contrary, the medium and large farmers do not need to borrow money. They already have their money, they have a good amount of agricultural output which they sell in the market, and as a result they are having a good amount of money. So in order to arrange for capital, they use their own savings. And the capital that is required in farming can be the machineries, the seeds, the fertilizers, the pesticides, or any other system of irrigation that is to be built. All these are capital, and every individual who performs agricultural activity, who wants to produce something on their land, they need to incur this cost of capital. So we also studied about Savita. Savita is a small farmer and she needs certain amount of capital. She needs about 3,000 rupees to arrange for all those capital, and as a result she decides to borrow from Tejpal Singh. Now Tejpal Singh is someone who agreed to give the loan amount, but instead he charged for a very high amount of interest, and he even demanded that Savita should work in his field for a very low amount of money, that is rupees 35. And since Savita has got no other option, she agrees to it. The last topic that we have studied is agricultural output or the surplus output. Now the small farmers, they do not have surplus output, because whatever they produce, they need to feed their family with that production. So whatever they produce, they fulfill the needs of food. Now this medium and large farmer, on the contrary, they keep certain amount to fulfill their food requirement of themselves and the family, and they sell the extra in the market. And once it is sold, the amount of money that they get, they can either save it or they can use it to lend to people like Savita, or even to Dala and Ramkali. And what they can do is they can even purchase capital out of that money. So that is it. Revision is over for this much part, and in the next class we shall continue with the chapter. Thank you.